Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, YouTubers. This is Jerry Diamond with How to Get Out of Babylon. Uh, got a fire going, so I thought I'd sit here and do a video. Wanted to talk about a couple things. One is just the related topics, but preppers. They have all these acronyms. You all have all these acronyms. Without rule of law, WROL, in case you didn't know what that meant, or ROL. When rule of law disappears, SHTF, everybody knows, shit hits the fan when the shit hits the fan. TGBU, when the balloon goes up. Teotwaki, the end of the world as we know it. And when all that happens, it'll be Tanstaffel. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. And, many other ones. Good, get out of Dodge bag, good bag. Your bug out bag, BOB, your bug out location, BOL, your bug out vehicle, BOV, your bug out pack bag, whatever you want to call it. Bug out bicycle. And the thing that has always just really mystified me is that with all of the literature out there, the post-toasty, post-whatever, post-disease, post-nuke, post, the zombie apocalypse, all the material out there, there is a massive and fatal, will be fatal, short-sightedness to all of the thinking. In other words, preppers and survivalists cannot see past their noses. They cannot think past, oh, I'm going to hunker down for 2 weeks. And that's not a bad rule of thumb. What would that be? ROT? Rot. Rule of thumb, Yeah, when things fall apart, hunker down if you can. Stay where you're at, your bug-in location, your BIB, BIL. But anyway, what I want to address is just the massive, just absolute lack of thinking at any kind of level beyond just the immediate things are going to fall apart and I'm going to go out and shoot people mentality. I'm going to take what I need. I'm going to steal. I'm going to commit murder. If that's your first course of action, you are doomed. At least from a human viewpoint, a biblical viewpoint, obviously. Thou shalt not kill. Okay, well, yes, it's justified if you are defending yourself, your own life, your family, your home. We have the castle doctrine. But beyond that, and I know many, many believers, supposedly Christians, who are almost just waiting for things to fall apart so they can kill somebody. This is not a primary system or thinking or modality or whatever word you want to plug in there. Yeah, I'm tired. My vocabulary has deteriorated seriously over the years, but this is not your prime directive to go out and kill people. So beyond the immediate things fall apart and then I don't know what to do, for crying out loud, there's plenty of literature out there to think through these situations ahead of time. And when you're looking at a strategic level of thinking, you cannot, as a first course of action, have anything to do with what most preppers figure on doing. Okay? So I want to, I'll go back and just to back up there. Probably 40 years ago, I started reading prepper survivalist literature, and one of them was probably Kurt Saxon and Mel Tapan and survival guns, I think. And but one of them, early writers that I read, pointed out that if you can't afford to do anything else financially, physically preparing, at least prepare your mind and your emotions. And so I took that as a, you know, there's the old thing of, well, I made this stay in 1993. I looked around the world and the country and I went, okay, we have a serious problem here. Um, if you, there, a lot of people, I said this, I quote unquote, I quote myself. I do that a lot, especially in writing. But a lot of people are going to die because they thought they were smart enough to think for themselves. Okay? A lot of people are going to die because they thought they were smart enough to think for themselves. So I started reading a lot of the survivalist literature, but science fiction, where you're positing a future scenario. And this is going to lead into something huge. Um, you can read ahead of time situations and deal with them emotionally, deal with them mentally, deal with them from a preparedness viewpoint. Okay? I'm going to pause it here. Okay, try to pause it. Okay, so, and by the way, I paused it to get the fire going again, but this was called the air grill. It was invented and made in America by a couple of guys that like to barbecue and drink beer. Had a bottle opener on that side, and it's offset, so it's a high-speed blower. It's basically a small forge. The tube comes off on the end there, and you can find a piece of metal that'll fit over that or whatever to extend the length of it. It'll blow about 2 feet. Something you ought to have if you're going to be working with a wood stove. Something else is a pair of welding gloves. Very handy if you want to have the hair on your fingers or your eyebrows and whatnot, but keep you from burning your fingers up. So go to a weld shop, ask them if you can buy a pair, ask them if you can get an old pair. I'm going to give up on the fire. So anyway, back to our little discourse here. Okay, you have all the prepper ideologies and mantras, us for no more, shoot first, ask questions later, as I said before. Should I feed them or should I eat them? And just a lot of basically selfish ideas. Now, you have the whole juxtaposition of whether you're a believer or not. And the problem that I found is that even Christian, quote-unquote, survivalists have the exact same mentality as all the, I wouldn't even want to use the word pagan as a opposition, because a lot of pagans I have met are far more Christian than the Christians I know. So, yeah, kudos to you guys. They want to try to feed everybody in St. Louis. Okay, well, that's not going to happen, but get real. On the other hand, on the other side of the coin, but you have a problem that they're primarily very short-sighted. Can't think beyond the first 2 weeks of whatever's going to happen, and they don't have a clue as what's going to happen, even though it's really simple to know what's going to happen by reading scenarios about futuristic scenarios. Lucifer's hammer, I've always said, is like the quintessential survivalist deal. So I'll touch on this later. And also Lights Out is, to me, the best one, because it's a lot of good practical as well as long-term thinking. So we'll touch base on that again. All right. Mr. Jerry Diamond, if you're listening to this, you are the remnant.